On October 25th, 2017, Ruja Ignatova boarded a flight from Sofia, Bulgaria to Athens, Greece. She was one of the richest women in the world. She convinced millions of people she had created the next Bitcoin. Authorities say investors handed her company more than $4 billion. 2 weeks earlier, a sealed federal arrest warrant had been issued in New York. She may have known. Because when that plane landed in Athens, she walked off and vanished. She has never been publicly seen again. Welcome to Fraudology, where we investigate the world's biggest scams, financial crimes, corporate frauds, Ponzi schemes, and deception cases. Because every fraud leaves a trail, and we're here to follow it. To understand how one woman convinced the world she'd out-invented Bitcoin, you need to understand how believable she was. Here's what investigators later concluded. OneCoin claimed to have its own blockchain, its own glass vault. But according to prosecutors, there was no public blockchain at all. No glass vault, just a locked room run by the company. The mining that supposedly created new coins, investigators say it didn't happen the way Bitcoin's does. The price of OneCoin, which only ever seemed to go up, authorities say it wasn't set by any market. It was simply typed into a company database. Imagine a casino where the chips can never be cashed out and the house decides what they're worth. That was OneCoin, according to the DOJ. When she stood on stage and told audiences she was about to change the financial world, people didn't just believe her, they handed her their savings. But to understand what she was selling, you first need to understand what she was copying. In 2009, Bitcoin appeared, a digital currency with no bank, no government, no CEO. Instead, it runs on something called a blockchain, a public ledger of every transaction copied across thousands of computers worldwide. Think of it as a glass bank vault. Anyone can look inside. Anyone can verify the money is real. Nobody can secretly change the numbers. By 2014, early Bitcoin believers had become millionaires, and millions of people who missed out were desperate for a second chance. That desperation had a name. The next Bitcoin, and Ruja Ignatova was about to sell it to them. Her product was called OneCoin. The marketing called it the Bitcoin killer. There was just one problem, and it wouldn't surface for years. June 2016, Wembley Arena, London. Thousands of fans scream as fireworks erupt for a cryptocurrency company. Ruja walks on stage to a triumphant pop anthem. This was OneCoin at its peak. Founded around 2014 by Ignatova and a co-founder, OneCoin spread across the globe with stunning speed, from Europe to Asia, Africa, and the Americas. Officially, you didn't even buy coins, you bought education packages, trading tutorials that came bundled with tokens for OneCoin. Packages ran from around 100 euros to tens of thousands. The Department of Justice says investors worldwide put in more than $4 billion. Ruja became the Cryptoqueen. Yachts, penthouses, champagne parties on the Black Sea. She told one arena that in 2 years, nobody would speak about Bitcoin anymore. The crowds kept cheering. Families recruited families. Pastors recruited congregations. In some villages, entire communities pooled their savings to buy in. And still the crowds cheered. Because almost nobody in those arenas understood the one question that mattered. What exactly were they buying? Here's what investigators later concluded. OneCoin claimed to have its own blockchain, its own glass vault. But according to prosecutors, there was no public blockchain at all, no glass vault, just a locked room run by the company. The mining that supposedly created new coins? Investigators say it didn't happen the way Bitcoin's does. The price of OneCoin, which only ever seemed to go up? Authorities say it wasn't set by any market. It was simply typed into a company database. Imagine a casino where the chips can never be cashed out and the house decides what they're worth. That was OneCoin, according to the DOJ. So where did the profits come from? Recruitment. OneCoin ran on a multi-level marketing structure. Members earned bonuses for bringing in new investors. Those new investors recruited more. And their money, prosecutors allege, funded the whole machine. New money paying for old promises. There's a name for that. A Ponzi scheme, which is exactly what experts and prosecutors called it. By 2016, the money was pouring in. The question was, where was it pouring out? Follow the money. That's what federal investigators did. And the trail, they say, led everywhere except back to investors. According to prosecutors, OneCoin funds moved through a web of offshore companies and shell corporations spanning multiple continents. One man was central to that operation, a corporate attorney. A jury convicted him of laundering roughly $400 million through fake offshore investment funds. The money bought bank accounts, real estate, a yacht, luxury cars. Ruja herself amassed properties and a lifestyle worth many millions, while, prosecutors say, ordinary families around the world emptied their savings into education packages. Their money didn't disappear, it just changed hands. And by 2017, people were starting to notice. The first alarms came from outside law enforcement. Financial bloggers and journalists asked simple questions OneCoin couldn't answer. Show us the blockchain, show us an independent audit. Regulators in multiple countries issued warnings. Then the heavyweights arrived. Federal investigators, financial crimes units, international police coordinating across Europe. Piece by piece, investigators traced the alleged flow of money through shell companies and bank accounts, building one of the largest investment fraud cases ever prosecuted. On October 12, 2017, a sealed federal arrest warrant was issued for Ruja Ignatova. 13 days later, she was gone. October 25, 2017, Sofia Airport. Ruja Ignatova boards a commercial flight to Athens. She lands, and then nothing. No confirmed sightings, no arrest, no body. For almost 9 years, one of the most recognizable women in the financial world has simply not existed. Think about how hard that is. A famous face, a $5 million bounty, federal and international police all looking, and still nothing. The theories multiplied, that she travels on false documents, that she altered her appearance through cosmetic surgery. Unverified reports have even claimed she was killed, allegedly on the orders of organized crime figures. Let's be clear about what's actually known. Authorities have not confirmed any of these theories. There is no public evidence proving she is dead or alive. What is confirmed? In June 2022, she was added to a 10 most wanted fugitives list, one of the very few women in its history. Today, the U.S. government offers a reward of up to $5 million for information leading to her arrest or conviction. She may be gone, but the empire she left behind was about to face justice. Ruja escaped, the people around her didn't. Her younger brother took over OneCoin after she vanished. In 2019, federal agents arrested him at a Los Angeles airport. He pleaded guilty to fraud-related charges, cooperated with investigators, and served a 34-month sentence. He has since been released. The co-founder and master salesman pleaded guilty, and in 2023, a federal judge sentenced him to 20 years in prison and ordered him to forfeit $300 million. The attorney was convicted at trial of laundering hundreds of millions through offshore funds, sentenced to 10 years, and ordered to forfeit roughly $392 million in assets. OneCoin's head of legal and compliance, the person supposedly ensuring the company followed the law. She was extradited to the United States, pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy, and was sentenced to 4 years, ordered to forfeit more than $111 million. The empire's inner circle, convicted, sentenced, imprisoned, all except the queen. So how did millions of people fall for a coin that investigators say never really existed? Not because they were stupid, because the scheme weaponized human psychology. Fear of missing out. Everyone had heard about the Bitcoin millionaires who got in early. Authority bias, a PhD, Oxford, McKinsey. Credentials switch off our skepticism. Social proof. Packed arenas. If thousands of people are cheering, how can it be fake? And groupthink sealed the exits. Inside OneCoin's community, doubters were dismissed as haters. Questions weren't answered, they were shamed. That's the real lesson of OneCoin. Frauds don't succeed by hiding from us. They succeed by looking exactly like the things we already trust. More than 8 years later, billions remain missing. In 2026, the Justice Department finally began compensating victims using over $40 million in forfeited assets. $40 million against more than $4 billion lost. Thousands of victims are still searching for answers, and the woman known as the Cryptoqueen is still on the 10 most wanted list. Somewhere tonight, she is either living under a new face and a new name, or she took the truth with her. Either way, the trail hasn't gone cold, because every fraud leaves a trail. If you enjoyed this investigation, subscribe to Fraudology for weekly documentaries covering the world's biggest scams, financial crimes, Ponzi schemes, corporate frauds, and deception cases. Because every fraud leaves a trail, and we're here to follow it.